As a Malaysian, I can't help but start with eating. When I order rice in a restaurant, they serve it with fork and knife. In Malaysia, we eat rice with spoon or hands even. It kind of makes sense because you get to poke things with it and use it as a spoon, but you don't get much. The feeling is just not as satisfying as using a spoon. What do you think? Ordering drinks in a restaurant. Usually in Malaysia, when you go to a restaurant, they'll bring you the menu, drinks and food. And then you'll order your drinks and your food. But here, it's very common that once you sit down, the waitress or the waiter comes, they will ask you, hey, what would you like to drink? And usually people are really quick. Unless it's a fancier restaurant where they serve wine as well, they usually do not provide a drinks menu. So I'm still so not used to it because I'm used to sitting down, looking, what do I want to drink? And usually you have like 10 drink choices. When I have a choice, I would always like to look at the menu even though it's always the same thing. Next is Apéro, a culture where you go for drinks first at a specific spot for drinking and then you move on to dinner at a restaurant. In Malaysia, your drink is like to keep you entertained before your food comes. I still find it really hard to greet someone. If you're close, usually you do like 3 kisses. In Malaysia, you just do like, hi. I don't really know how to do it, especially with people that I kinda know but not really, like my husband's friend that I've met a couple of times. I thought I just follow his lead. But here, the men greet each other just shaking hands, and the woman kisses, and the men and the women also do the kiss. So when I meet with my husband, when he shakes hand, and then I don't know, I just don't know. Unless they initiate, then it's easy for me. If they don't, sometimes I'm like, I'm stuck, and it's like, should I not? So yeah. And also with Asian women that live here, we stick to our culture or follow the saying of do as the Romans when you're in Rome. Calling elderly people by name. With my mother-in-law, I still find it so hard to call her by name because in Asia, when you are married, you call your mother-in-law and your father-in-law mom and dad as well. But because they don't do it here, even though I think my mother-in-law kind of knows, so sometimes she signs off as mama. In my culture, calling by name is a bit disrespectful. And in this culture, calling your mother-in-law mom is also not a thing. Although she offered, but to me, it's even if I were to marry someone from Malaysia, I would find it hard to call my mother-in-law mom. But because the culture is doing it, it's not so weird, I guess. But the fact that I'm here, it's not normal, and calling by name is also a bit off. So sometimes I just say hi, like even in messages, like I don't know how to say. But now having a child makes it a lot easier because I want to model to my child how she should call her grandma. So I say grandmother in German. So when I address her, sometimes I also say grandmother. Somehow it comes easier. In Malaysia, anyone older than you, you call auntie something. Auntie something or uncle something. But here, when you call someone auntie or uncle, when they are not literally related to you, that is weird. So, you know, I'm stuck. But when I have Asian friends, when I introduce them to my daughter, I will say auntie something and uncle something. If it's not Asian, I try to say by name. It's getting a bit easier, but it's still so hard. Another thing that I find it hard to embrace is how people greet you saying hello without a smile. In Malaysia, saying hello is like one step after smiling. So here it's like, ooh, why did you skip one step? I overheard my husband saying I'm 85. And I was like, what? I thought it was a joke. And then I realized that here, when you ask people how old they are, They kind of tell you their birth year instead of their age. Why let me do mathematics? Just tell me your age. When it comes to tipping, it's also very hard for me because in Malaysia, we don't tip. Everything is included in the tax. But I think here, it's also included. But somehow, people, I think, still tip. I don't know. And it's so hard for me. I mean, if it's like 21.20, then I find it easy. Okay, tip it, round it up, make it 22. But if it's like 21, I don't know. It's just so hard for me. I don't know what to do, and I end up not tipping. Like in Japan, if you tip someone, it's an insult. It's like you are supposed to do your job well. You are supposed to be nice and friendly and polite. To be honest, a lot of service providers here are not friendly. So what am I tipping them for? Bad behavior? Maybe this is not a cultural thing, but more an interest in hiking. So I don't get it when people take a train from point A to point B just to come back on foot to point A. I don't really grasp the idea. Maybe if you're a hiker, you can shed some light on this topic. I'm editing this video now and I'm thinking, I guess maybe it's like how Malaysians will drive an hour just to eat. I guess it's the same. I think if you enjoy hiking, that's what you do. You go to point B from point A just to walk back. Because they can also say why we drive 1 hour just to eat. That's something my husband doesn't get a lot of the time. He will say, you get food in 2 minutes down the road. Why are you driving an hour to get something similar? But it's not similar, right? If you've moved from one culture to another, are there things like that that you still have not embraced after a period of time? Or am I the slow one? I really thought that I was very adaptable and open-minded, but guess not.